Blighty Boxing with Frank Warren and Queensbury Promotions here in the Sheffield home of Liam Williams. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. I'm just pretty tired at the moment. Obviously been training hard, but
already trained this morning?
Yeah, nice and early this morning. I was in doing pads at 8 AM, so I'm burned out already for the day, but everything's going well and I'm feeling good.
And of course, apart from Willie Hutchison getting married and moving out, another development in your life has been the introduction of little Cotto, who we'll introduce later on. He's currently outside. What brought that on? Was it sort of a bit of company for the sort of lonely training camps?
Yeah, a bit of company, little bit of a phase I was going through. I wanted a dog, and you know, I'm still happy that I got him, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's just one of them where, you know, it's nice to have something, shall we say, not someone, but you know, just a bit of company around the house now. And obviously I got Robbie living with me as well. But yeah, it's just good bit of company.
You're destroying your reputation at the moment. I mean, you used to be this world's angriest man, the Machine Williams. Now you have to start calling you Cuddly Williams, haven't you? You've got a dog to cuddle, you know, missus on the go, romantic weekends in London. What's happening to you?
Oh, it's all going downhill, isn't it? I'm getting old now. 28 now. I'm starting to get a little bit soft, but I won't change my behaviour in the ring. Don't worry.
Or fight week, weigh in, press conference?
Definitely not. No, still the same angry man.
How was the lockdown for Angry Man? I suppose it would really suited your personality in some respects at the moment, sort of locking yourself up in solitary.
Yeah, it was like, obviously, it's not the best of positions to be in, is it, where, you know, you've got nothing to drive towards, no goals, no fight dates, you haven't got a proper gym to train in. Well, I didn't back home anyway. So it's just one of them where I did, at the beginning it was all fun and games, but towards the end I did start to crack up a little bit, and I thought just can't wait to get back to normality, do you know what I mean? But you know, everything's kind of come back to plan for me now. And
did you have more father-daughter time?
Not really, to be honest, because for the first 5, 6, I don't know, maybe like 6, 7 weeks, I didn't even see my daughter because of everything which was going around, and there was a couple of cases of it in my area and whatnot. So it's rather safe than sorry. She's only young, you know, so it's just not worth the risk. Although I was dying to see her, it's just like you have to weigh it up and try and keep everyone safe.
Hard for you though. How back to normal is the gym now? Is it just fighters who have got something coming up, or is everyone back in now?
It's like we have a couple of people back and forth, you know, we need to get some sparring in and that, but it's only pretty much us lot. Just me, Robbie, Willie, Barry, Kel, anyone I've missed. Obviously a couple of others in and out, body sparring and whatnot. So, but yeah, it's quite a close thing anyway. Our gym is, you don't really get loads and loads of people just rolling up off the street, do you know what I mean?
On the subject of sparring, Mark Heffron, you've had a reacquaintance with him. I know you've had more than one, haven't you, over the last however many months. I spoke to him the other day. He confirmed, but he didn't chin you. But what he did say was that they had to stop you sparring at one point because you were both going a bit bonkers. True?
Yeah, true, yeah. Nothing personal. It was just like, I think we both, you know, we had our personal issues in the build-up for the fight and whatever, but it's just a case of we both got that type of personality where we don't like, how can I put it, we don't like somebody feeling like he's getting one over, or we both very like reactive people, do you know what I'm saying? So he'd catch me with a good shot, I'd fire back, and we just start having a bit of a ding-dong. So Dom had to calm us down a bit and tell us off.
Can you see improvements in him?
Yeah, do you know what, I can. I'm not just saying that, but me and Tom was talking about him. He's got a great coach in in Jennings. I honestly think I rate him. You know, he's a good coach, and I do think he's definitely brushed up on a couple of things with him.
No disrespect to any former coaches, but you found it worked for you, didn't it, having that change?
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes, you know, it's not always the coach which is at fault. Sometimes you just need to freshen things up for your own mental state and whatever, you know. So sometimes you get a little bit, things get a bit repetitive training wise, and seeing the same faces, same gym. Sometimes it's just good to keep it fresh, you know.
You say about the sort of friction between yourself and Mark before that fight. That was probably the pre-fight build-up that kind of brought out the first sightings, really, of Angry Man as we know him now. Because after that, you jumped on Natshaw at the weigh-in, you put it on Mullender. The last fella, you didn't give him an inch. And then you think back to Liam Smith, and you let him walk all over you verbally in the build-up to those fights.
Yeah, exactly.
I bet you regret that now, don't you?
I do, yeah. Do you know what it was? I think that's more of a case of inexperience, and not so much just inexperience, but self-confidence and self-belief. Whereas I always knew I was good, but sometimes you just need someone to, you know, suck that out to you, and I just don't believe I was really getting that, and now I just couldn't believe in myself anymore, you know, if I tried really. So it's just a case of I know what I can do now, and I'm just going to be out there about that.
Well, you get an edge from it now, clearly. Do you think it gave him the edge back then?
Probably so, yeah. Like you said, he probably thought he could walk all over me. And you know, if somebody's just backing down to you all the time, you get that bully's mentality, and you just think you can, as we just said, just walk all over people. So it's like, you know, I would never leave that happen again. Just from a you know, more of a build-up of experience.
I know you two get along fine now, but I bet you'd love that fight again, wouldn't you? Just to sort of set the record straight.
Yeah, definitely. That's my favourite fight out there at the moment, to be honest with you, apart from titles and that aside. If there's one person I wanted to fight, it would be Liam Smith, because I know it's easy enough for me to chat shit and say, oh, you know, I beat him now or whatever, but I'm willing to put it on the line and prove it. But I can see why he wouldn't want to fight me again, because he'll just say, well, I beat you twice anyway, which is understandable, and it's business at the end of the day.
You never know, one day. Since that time, could you have ever imagined but 4 fights following a late call-up for a British title middleweight could have turned your career around so dramatically?
No, it's a blessing really, when that, you know, that I got that fight. And I think a lot of people in my position at that time wouldn't have taken the fight, because I come off a loss. Don't get me wrong, I beat. I don't remember the opponent's name now, to be honest with you. No disrespect, but beat a journeyman really, and I was lined up to fight JJ Metcalf.
That's right, yeah.
At light middleweight, and I got a call up to fight Mark Heffron. And I do just think a lot of people in my position at that time would have played it safe and not taken the fight. But you know, I was eager, I was hungry, I wanted to prove a point and get myself back on course to, you know, where I am now and where I'm going to be.
Because I mean, even right up to, well, probably up until before the Fox fight, you were still hedging your bets, saying light middle's still me, light middle's still me, but it's clear that middleweight is you now, isn't it, surely?
Well, yeah,
it suits you.
It seems that way. I'm putting on good performances, and but I keep saying I'll stick to my word. If the right opportunity come up at light middle, I could still do it. I could still get my stuff down to the weight. The way I was doing the weight before, it was quite unhealthy, to be honest with you, and I was doing everything wrong looking back to the way I do things now. So I'm sure if the right opportunity come up at light middle, Don would get me in fantastic shape for that and get me making the weight okay.
For the uneducated eye like myself, the thing that really stood out in the Heffron fight and since then has been your feet. What happened to sort of, I don't know, you could almost get you on Strictly now. Your feet just flow.
Yeah, do you know, I think it's a lot of it's to do with the Ingle Gym footwork and the lines, switching stance. There's just so many different drills and stuff that we learn there. And I've always had good footwork, to be fair. It's just I needed that being brought out of me a little bit more, you know. So
is it a lot of repetition? Is it quite boring? But probably now it comes naturally.
Yeah, it's a lot of repetition, as you say, but I actually enjoy doing the lines and the switching, and it just keeps you mentally a lot more switched on and enjoying it, learning, you know. Whereas when you're just walking on the ring and just, you know, doing your own thing and not having to stick to a certain kind of plan, if you know what I mean. It gets a bit boring if you're not doing that, and I'm really enjoying it the way we are now.
I suppose you have to be a little bit more nimble when you're sparring people who are like, I was going to say half your weight, but a lot lighter than you in this body sparring thing that you do. That must keep you a bit sort of on your toes. Yeah,
we do. Obviously, it's a known thing that we do a lot of body sparring in Ingle Gym, and you know, one round I could be being with someone who's 5, even 10 kilos lighter than me, but then it could be the opposite way around as well. I'll be fighting someone bigger, do you know what I'm saying? So it just keeps you having to bring different styles, different approaches to the different sizes and shapes of the people who sparring.
Anyway, this 4-fight sequence that we've been talking about has got you into the mandatory spot with the WBO. Purse bids are now in the, well, negotiations are now supposedly in process. Purse bids, if nothing else happens, got to happen within 120 days, apparently. What are your thoughts on this fight? I mean, obviously Andrade is the champion, but we're not hearing a lot from him. They're just not talking about you, are they?
No, I don't really understand what's going on there, to be honest with you. He's, I say he's got to fight me next or give up. I've tried to approach him on social medias and different things like that, but just doesn't seem to want to know, does he? No, never any reply. Never.
He's gone quieter than Deontay Wilder, hasn't he?
Yeah, I know, he's just left the face of the earth, so to be honest with you, I just think he's boring anyway, so honestly, I just hope he fucks off and leaves me fight Munguia for the title anyway, because he's just a bore and no one wants to see him.
Do you think he might be hedging his bets in terms of the potential of maybe fighting Billy Joe at the higher weight?
I think he's hanging on because he's quite big for middleweight. I think he's possibly old enough to try and get the Billy Joe, Callum Smith, John Ryder, even one of these kind of fighters, you know, at super middle. Because he's probably finding middleweight hard to make, to be honest with you. And he, you know, he's been champion at light middle, he's been champion in middle. Maybe he wants to try and go for his third belt, you know. So just one of them where you just have to wait and see how it all pans out.
Even though you say you'd rather fight Munguia, it would be a setback in the sense, but if these leave it to go to the wire, then he drops the title. Then you've got to start the whole process again, the purse bids, everything else, probably another 120 days, and that knocks it right into next year for you, wouldn't it? And that would be a blow, wouldn't it? Because your thing at the moment is about momentum. Yeah,
you're right. And as I say, that'll be a bit of a kick in the balls, but it's just one of them things where you got to be prepared for whatever's coming, you know, and you have to stay patient, keep in decent shape, I suppose. And just be ready for what comes.
Patience isn't really your thing though, is it?
It's not, to be honest with you. Never have been a very patient guy. If I like the other day I bought myself a new car, I decided I want a new car. I was looking at the Porsche on the way home on Friday. I went and bought it on Saturday morning. Really? Like, instead of just looking around and I'm just like, I want a new car, bam, let's go and get her.
Brand new Porsche.
and I normally regret it 2 days after them. But at the moment, I'm standing by my decision with this one.
Midlife crisis.
Midlife, I won't go that far yet, but it's a bit harsh, that.
Back to Andrade. You say he's long, he's tall, he's boring, but didn't you show the way to deal with that type of fighter against Fox?
Exactly.
You set the prototype there, didn't you?
Exactly, just going to steamroll him and just do damage, just get on his chest and take him apart. That's what I'm about, and that's what I'm going to do to him.
Do you think it'd be an interesting build-up? Because I noticed you firing at a few Americans during the week on social media who seem to be saying, but Andrade's mandatory a poor fight. Well, I was going to say, if it's a poor fight, it won't be down to his mandatory challenger.
Yeah, exactly. Do you know, I'm guessing you're talking about that Dan Raphael, yeah?
Yeah, it was him and somebody else, wasn't
American
it? Yeah.
journalist or whatever he is. Just like, I shouldn't really say nothing, I should just keep quiet, but I just think, you know, it's rude, like, do you know what I mean? Because how can they say it's a boring fight when I'm a lot more excited than him? If it's going to be a boring fight, it's going to be totally down to him. I don't bring that boring style, I bring action, do you know what I mean? So, and you know, we've only had one common opponent, and I disposed of him in 5 rounds and he took him to the distance. So, you know, you can't go off, styles make fights, and then you can't go off like, I beat him in 5, he went to distance, I'm going to beat Andrade. Obviously it doesn't work like that. So,
do you see dangers in Andrade?
yeah, of course, he's a wild, well, he's tall, he's a southpaw.
He could just pick away and make you look very bad and nick the fight.
He could make it a boring fight, and you know, just try and keep me at range, and make it boring. But I just believe the role I'm on at the moment, I ain't gonna allow it to get into that kind of fight. I'm more than happy to take a couple of shots to land my own, you know.
Do you think he's a puncher? Do you think he's got any power?
No, he looks more of a puncher, he is, because of the way he leans into his shots, and I think he's very erratic, you know. He throws big overhand lefts and he swings even when he misses, and I think against someone like myself, that's going to be his downfall, because he's going to leave himself open and he's going to get taken out.
Now, before this comes about, hopefully, nice to have a little date booked in for October 10, headlining down at the BT studio. That must have been a bit of a lift for you. Yeah,
it was. I was asking for a date anyway, obviously, if this is going to get knocked back with the Andrade thing. I was asking for a date anyway. To be honest, I didn't even think of the British title. I kind of forgot I still had it, if I'm being honest with you.
You won't let it go, though.
Yeah, nah, I won't let it go. Not unless they pay me a couple of quid. But yes, it's one of them where I just expected to be in maybe a 10 round or whatever, non-title, and then the opportunity to come up to defend the British title. I was like, fantastic, perfect. And do your mandatory at the same time. Yeah, perfect opportunity, to be honest with you. So I'm really happy. Give me a good boost. Give me a new focus to what I've had over the last couple of months. You know, being a bit just being bored, no drive to train hard or diet. So yeah, I'm really happy and I can't wait. Andrew Robinson, I think he's known as Dat Animal. People will get a bit funny about this fight because they'll say he was destroyed by Mark Heffron. So I mean, it's quite surprising because of that, but he's been made mandatory ahead of Mark. But you can't really look into that too much. You just got a job to do, I guess. No, you know, I'm glad. Like, no disrespect to Mark, but I beat him, and I done it in good fashion. So it's just a new challenge for me. It's just a new opponent. Can't take anyone lightly. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's going to be good. But to me, it doesn't matter who's standing opposite me. It's just a case of seek and destroy, really. I just want to get through him, and I don't think he's got any chance of, you know, halting me or stopping me, you know, getting where I'm going to get.
How much does this British title mean to you? And I say that in the sense, but this would be a second defence for you. Get another one in, which would be a voluntary, and you can keep the thing. How much does it mean to you? Does it mean enough for you to sort of fit in another British title thing into your schedule?
Well, obviously British title is a big thing for me, like as it is most fighters. It's not everything. You know, being a world champion is the main thing for me, but having the British title is a big thing, and I would love to keep the belt. It'd be nice to stay at home and have on show, do you know what I mean? But it's one of them where I'm never going to give up a chance to fight for a world title or anything like that to do so. Depending how far back this Andrade fight gets put, who knows, but right now my focus is defend against Andrew Robinson and then fight Andrade for the world middleweight title.
Your forthcoming or up and coming challengers on a British level, obviously we've talked about Mark, he's fighting Denzel. Now you seem to be firmly in the Mark camp for this one in terms of your predictions.
Yeah, I'm not saying Denzel Bentley. Denzel Bentley's he's not a good fighter or anything, but I just think Mark holds the experience, punch power. I think there's a couple of things which I favour Mark for, and I honestly think Mark will win, but you know, I wish the both of them well and have a good fight and come out safe. That's what matters most.
A couple of younger ones, Kevin Ajako and Felix Cash, who fights for Matchroom. Have you had a chance to have a look at the sort of youth squad, the youth element yet?
To be honest, I don't. Anyone who's not on my radar, then I don't really look. Obviously, there's a couple of people like Felix Cash and.
Well, they offered you to fight him, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't really know the ins and outs of everything, but I got told they made him an offer to fight me, and never heard anything after that. So you obviously just got like mainly my kind of ideal opponents. Andrade number one, Munguia, but you've got you know, in Britain you've got Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Smith. Just them kind of opponents. I'm not really looking at people like Felix Cash or Bentley or without being
money fights, aren't you? So.
Without being disrespectful, I think they they need to wait their turn. Do you know what I mean?
Do you ever think you'll be able to get Eubank in the ring?
I'd certainly like to. Whether that could actually happen is another thing, because, well, you probably know yourself, they're quite hard people to deal with.
Apparently, yeah.
Going from, you know, hearsay.
Okay, just picking up again. Long term, Liam, if everything goes to plan, how do you see your career and life sort of panning out? Obviously, the goal immediately is you obviously British title, then world title fight. You'd obviously want to then maximise your financial potential as a world champion. But how do you see things playing out in the longer term in your life? I mean, what are your ultimate goals? Is it to sort of retreat to Wales and sort of sit in the pub, or do you want to sort of become a big businessman, invest in your spoils, or do you want to stay in the game? What have you sort of got in your mind?
I don't know. Well, obviously right now I don't focus on anything else other than boxing. I try to get myself a couple of properties and stuff like that, renting them out and whatnot, so I have a bit of an income, and I'll probably try and continue to do that. You know,
so you're already making provision for life after boxing.
I'm already involved in that kind of thing, and I'll keep doing that as my career goes on and progresses. But I don't really do anything. My man takes care of me. Like, I'll just buy the house and whatever, and he does work for me and stuff like that. So he's you know, he's fantastic in that sense. After boxing, well, probably quite soon I'm going to look to get myself a gym. For now, it'll just kind of be for myself and maybe friends or whatever. But as time goes on and as I come towards the end of my career, then I'll probably start just doing a bit of personal training and that kind of thing. So something which gets me out of bed in the morning, and you know.
Could you see yourself dedicating yourself in the way like Dom has, Gary in Wales? Could you see yourself applying that sort of focus and attention onto?
No, I'll be honest with you, Rich. I don't think that I want that for myself after boxing, because I've already dedicated my whole life to boxing, really, and it's taken over. I've missed out on so many things. Even my little girl growing up now, I'm not there, nowhere near as much as I would like to be or I want to be. But in the same way, I'm there. You know, I'm providing for her, and I'm going to make a good life for her. So I don't think I would want to commit my lifetime to, you know, training other boxers and chasing them around. You know, it's just
looking at opponents, matchmaking,
it's not what
mollycoddling.
It's not what I want to do, because as I say, it's taken so much of my life already, and I just want to chill, maybe train a couple of people in terms of people walking in off the street, try and help people achieve their goals, whether that's weight loss, getting fit, just knowing how to box, look after yourself. Who knows? But
saying that, if when you become a world champion and make a bit of even more of a name for yourself, you could hit the old celeb circuit when you finish, couldn't you? Sort of I'm a celebrity. That's in Wales now, I believe.
Yeah, who knows?
Would you go in the jungle or in the Welsh castle?
100%. I'd go anyway. I'm always up for a challenge.
Strictly? Obviously could be your freak now.
I don't really think that's for me, to be honest with you, but it's something I consider. Anything really, just something to just keep you going forward and keep on track, and just something.
You see yourself being the next Barry Jones, you know, Welsh boxing analyst on TV?
That's another thing. Why not? This watching and talking about boxing is what I enjoy doing. So why not do it? Get some exposure, get paid for it. Well,
that reminds me now, 3 or 4 years ago, that you wouldn't have been able to contemplate that because you were so uncomfortable in front of a camera, weren't you? Even in front of a tape recorder, you were completely uncomfortable. And look at you now; it's just completely natural.
Yeah, definitely. I've come a long way. Like even say 3-4 years ago, with the fights with Smith, I've just grown as a person, confidence, just all rounded really. You know,
was it practice? Was it maturity?
I think it's just maturing and become a father, and I just grew up a lot overnight, really, if you want to say that. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel a lot more comfortable with everything now.
In a funny sort of way, to make you what you are now, those setbacks have probably played a bit of a part, haven't they?
Yeah, I was saying to someone the other day, I was like, they said, any regrets, what would you change about your career? I've said this to a couple of people, and would you go back in the Smith build-ups, do anything different? And like in the second fight with Smith, I weren't really.
You weren't even there, were you?
I wasn't that dedicated.
You weren't even there in the ring, to be fair, that night.
Nah.
The first fight was fantastic, and the cut thing played a part. The second one, you were devoid of motivation for some reason, weren't you?
Yeah, I wasn't motivated. I wasn't dedicated. I was semi-dedicated, word in the way I should have been. I was doing things outside of the ring I shouldn't have been, and it showed. But
that's showing you now how not to do it. So you're probably never going to go back to that.
So I wouldn't. If I could go back, I would still lose them fights. I would still, everything which have happened to me in my career, I would stick by that happening all over again, because although some moments have been a bit shit, I wouldn't want to change anyway, because it's moulded me into the man and the fighter I am now.
Have you noticed particularly, I mean, you probably see it on social media because you're obviously up here and you're not really around the public so much, but there is a real hunger for people to watch you now. You're almost like the must-watch fighter because of the way you go about fights. People are like looking out. When's Liam Williams fighting? I like watching him.
Yeah.
Have you sort of detected that across social media and other things?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, obviously you get a lot of people talking about that, and that's good. That's what you want really as a fighter. And but even you're in Sheffield, like sometimes I get people like stop me on the street and that, and like, oh, Liam Williams, we love watching you fight, blah blah. You're an animal, this kind of stuff. But
you cultivate that image, don't you? So.
Yeah, but do you know what? I sometimes like when things like that happen, I just have a little kind of take a step back and have a little chat to myself, and I'm like, this guy's just called you an animal. Oh, you're a beast. Like, don't get sucked in. Just be yourself, you know. And don't get me wrong, it's nice that these people are saying.
Don't play up to it. Yeah.
It's nice that these people are saying good things about me and whatever, but just stay in your own lane and keep doing what you're doing.
If you get the WBO, the others will have to free up sooner or later, because Canelo will have to make up his mind which way he's going to go, and he's sort of super middleweight, light heavyweight, middleweight. He can't just hang on to them all forever, can he? So I mean, there could be potentially other belts, unifications, things like that.
Yeah.
Or would you like to fight him?
Canelo? I'd love it. I'd definitely take that chance, both hands. I'd love to fight Golovkin. I've stated that a couple of times. I'd fight him, well, I'd fight him in 5 weeks when I'm supposed to fight him, you know, whenever he's ready, but it's just whatever, the biggest fights that can be made, I want, and there's no questions asked. I'm up for it.
Liam Williams, thank you very much, sir.
Good man.